Hello, welcome to another edition of Low Code Campfire. This is episode 180 for Friday, January 31st, 2025. And today we are saying we are ready for DNN Summit. Glad you joined us. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plantinap. We have Patrick Anderson representing Plantinap as well, technical success manager. And let's see what we can get into today. Low Code Campfire is an event we do most Fridays, and it's a gathering where we get together and talk about Plantinap and DNN and our challenges with all of that. And oftentimes we get help with issues right as we do it. So we do hope you'll join us if you're listening to this in our recording. Our recording sessions are out on youtube.com/Plantinap. That channel has our Low Code Cafe episodes as well. We'll run this agenda. We'll stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we'll go around the campfire and do some things. I've picked out a few things. If you have anything first call that you want to talk about, we'll start thinking about that because we're going to get into it right in a minute. There's another contribution to the Campfire website. Not much going on in community, but we'll find some stuff to talk about. And then after an hour or so, we'll go into Afterglow. That's where we turn off the recording, kick back for a few more minutes, and enjoy each other's company a little bit. So do jump in and engage with us. Looks like we've got a good group going on today. You can submit questions and topics in advance, and you can either use that QR code or you can send an email to support@plantinap.com. And if you submit them in advance, maybe I'll have time to do a little research before we get started. So with that, I will say hello, team.
Hello.
Good
Good
day,
morning,
sir.
everyone.
Good morning, Al.
I have some stuff I want to communicate today, but I also trying to save my voice. I'm trying to lose it a little bit, and I got to talk twice on Monday, so hopefully I'll make it through. Just getting over the crud here a little bit. So we start.
Through a strange twist of fate, I'm going to be visiting you folks via the virtual side of DNN Summit next week. So I look forward to talking with you then.
Very good. DNN Summit is on the topic list here. Let's jump down to that. DNN Summit is Monday and Tuesday. I have it on good authority. There's still time to register and to pay your fees. My presentation, 7 DNN admin tricks. It's actually up to 9 now, so there's a couple of bonus tricks that are going to be there. I previously said that we're going to do a part 2 on the Low Code Cafe, and that was scheduled for Wednesday, but that's not going to happen. We've canceled Low Code Cafe for this Wednesday, and mostly because I needed time to come up with the 2 extra tricks. And then I, for whatever reason, hadn't realized, but we have this other topic, revolutionizing customer service with generative AI. And that presentation came together as well, so you'll hear from me twice on Monday. Mark, any final good news about DNN Summit? Or
Final
what bar
good
we're supposed to
news.
meet at?
The number of registrations continues to climb, which is nice. Nice to have more people to meet, greet, and educate. And we're excited about your sessions, Dale. And a few of us in the group here today are going to be joining us, and it'll be nice to get together in person. This summit's really coming together. Everything's lined up. It's just time to show up.
Perfect. Good deal. So we skipped past first call. Anybody have a first call today? I'm going to talk about a few things, but we'll keep coming back to that. I did a quick update to our version adoption, just checked in on that, and it's virtually unchanged, except that I've added a column for 1.27 because we keep inching closer towards getting that out the door. So nothing big to report there. I mentioned DNN Summit already. I had an interesting question that came up on the support channel. Somebody wanted to do image annotation, and I put together a proof of concept for that. And then after I did that, I wondered if there was any other ways to use our tool to do that. But what they wanted to do was to be able to look at an image and circle an area and say that was something that they wanted to call out about that image. And so what I've done is set up something where you can circle that area and then that becomes persistent on the page. Has anyone? We don't have a tool that does this, do we, Patrick? And I wasted my hour yesterday. I've called Patrick out.
Sorry, I was unmuted. I was muted, and I was saying no, I'm not aware of that. No.
So I'm sure we could come up with a tool that would do this, that would allow you to draw and scratch up an image and save it and whatever. But I thought it was kind of an interesting use case and used stuff that we already had to be able to do something like that. We have our touch signature that we've had for a long time that where you can collect a signature and when you hit submit, that whatever's image that you do is stored up on the server, and then you can use that for, like, put it on a invoice as having signed for something or a package or whatever, but grab a signature and then have it to use. And what I did was to this touch signature doesn't allow display of an image. But what I did is I used a static text to include the HTML that had this image that I had AI generate for me, by the way, and positioned it with some CSS underneath the touch signature. So then when you're drawing on the touch signature, but it's appearing over top of the image. So it wasn't hard to put together. I think there's probably some things that you'd need to do, and ideally you'd want to be able to merge the two, because what you end up with is your raw image plus a file that you can then overlay. Anyway, so anyone interested enough that I should go into the details?
Yes, that's very cool.
Right.
I'd be happy with just what you've got there, because oftentimes I just need to point out something.
Okay. Well, so let's take a look at what's behind it. It's not a lot, and it is a proof of concept. It's not a final thing by any means, but the first piece to it is a touch signature, and I'm only showing this if we've got a logged in user ID. So if you, for example, were to browse to this site incognito, um, let's do it. You get the image and the annotation, but you don't get the touch signature showing up. The next thing is that I'm set the signature name. When you click submit, this is where the file is going to get stored. I'm just doing it to the temp folder, so it's called overlay 4015. That happened to be the ticket number that somebody used to submit it. So we have whatever gets put on the touch signature is going to get stored in this file. And then I tried to use display image. This is actually is falsed out, so it's not really part of the solution. I'm going to delete it out here. This static text displays the original image. And in this case, it's coming, I'm very rough. I'm just grabbing my cat from some other site. Doesn't matter where the image is coming from, but I'm giving it a height of 600 pixels. So that's going to fit it into in my UI settings. for the touch signature, I've also given it a height of 600 pixels. I didn't realize that you could adjust the height of that particular canvas. So that's another kind of thing. If you want to draw an image and you want it to be more than just a more or less than just a signature block, you can adjust the height a little bit. So anyway, that works. So the source for this thing, this is just going to get an image, and it's going to size it to the same size as, or height rather, as the touch signature box. And then through CSS, a little bit of interactive CSS, I figured out that I could, if I use position absolute and gave it a top and a left, that would overlap the image with my touch signature. If I take this off, just take it off for a second and save. This is how it started out, where the image is just appears somewhere else below. And now you can see that the touch signature is rendering with, well, I'm sorry, this annotation is rendering separately. You'll see it separately. So we have our original image. We are using the CSS to reposition it on top of the touch signature. This could probably be done more intelligently. This is going to be pretty hard-coded values to that particular thing, so you might want to do JavaScript instead. And then I did a z-index of -1 to put the image underneath the touch signature. So what without that, you wouldn't be able to draw on the touch signature where the image was. And then this is the display the overlay, where that overlay 4015 PNG file that gets created when we hit submit is just being displayed. And again, I'm using the same UI settings so that it appears right over top. So there's like 3 things going on the screen. We have one layer is the touch signature, one layer is the original image, and then one layer is whatever was drawn the last time. So if I submit this with not drawing on it, the overlay file gets cleared. If I draw on it here, whatever it is that I want to call out and submit it, now that becomes the overlay image, and every time you refresh the page, you get that back. So I imagine all that could be made much more dynamic, and somebody smarter than I could probably figure out how to merge the layer of the overlay with the image itself so that it becomes permanent instead of being 2 different things that get displayed separately. But it's a proof. Questions on how I put that together? I had never thought of doing anything like that before, but you get somebody that comes up with a question and you think, well, we have A and we have B, and how can we put those together with a little bit of, so it's a workaround, and you.
Yeah, not sure I would have thought of that. That's cool.
I did a little research with the AI. I think there's probably a way through a little bit of JavaScript. Maybe you would want this to be red instead of black. We don't have any options to change the color of what happens with the signature. Or maybe you might want a bolder line or stuff like that. I think it could be done with a little bit of investment in some JavaScript. And then it would say, hopefully it would save as black and be able to render that way. Anyway, so it's out there under image annotation. I haven't done a lot of explanation or anything, but at least it's out there as something somebody could look at if you were curious.
Yeah, that looks like it would be really handy in just the right situation. It's pretty neat.
I think and I'm glad we got a chance to explain it. I had sent the technique as a form to the client that asked about it, but I wanted to be able to explain a little bit about it, and so I'm glad we got to talk about it. As I understand it, their use case has to do with displaying parts, machinery parts, or machines, and to be able to call attention to specific things on the drawing. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it once they have that much, but they just wanted to be able to circle things, and so I think we can probably get them there with that much.
So, Dale, Ben and I are doing this little side conversation in response to what you're talking about. I asked for something similar to the next piece of what you're doing. I asked for help with that, and Ben responded with a way to take a part of the screen and screenshot it, turn it into an image that would be your annotations saved. And together, neither one of us are remembering exactly how to do that, but I'm still looking for you.
Oh, to be able to merge it together. I know, I mean, I use a tool all the time here, the snipper, to be able to
Yeah, but this was a website tool. You send it off to this other service, and it comes back with an image that you could then store
Yep.
programmatically. So there's a way to do it.
Yeah. So, not surprised, and maybe somebody has a way to do it through an API, which would be a cool call. So, and in this case, I have a JPEG image as the source, and it's our touch signature is creating a PNG. So, it'd be interesting. We have to take two different types and merge them together, and so hopefully somebody does that. Cool. And again, I'm sure our team could. I suspect that this touch signature that could be preloaded with an image and avoid all that overlay stuff. Um, and also, if we revealed some more things like width and color and maybe a couple of tools so that it's not just free form, but you could draw a square or a circle or something like that. Be kind of handy. Anyway, thought that was of interest. What else? We had a great meeting this week. Patrick and I were part of this, trying to work on Too Sexy and Plant and App compatibility. We met with our team, so the really smart people, Robert Dima and Bogdan from our side, and Daniel Metler and one of his really smart people were in this meeting. We all got together to talk about how to make Too Sexy and Plant and App compatible. Uh, that was an hour and a half of me trying to be very quiet and not disturb smart people who were talking. But the end of it, just jumping to the end, they don't have any immediate plans to change the way that they install Too Sexy for a very good reason. And they're going to consider making changes after DNN 10 is released. There's not a lot of, among other things, there's not a lot of value for them to invest time in figuring out how to install it correctly for DNN 9 and then have DNN 10 come out and have it be a different problem. So they're going to relook at it after DNN 10 gets released. But one of the things that came out of it was that we now have a PowerShell script that and changes to our version. We had some incompatibility that Robert chased down and fixed. So we think we're seeing good results with Plant and App 126 299 and higher, and 260 18 and higher. And so the sequence of events is that if you install well, if you if you have Plant and App and you put Too Sexy on the same site after it, things going on in web config will crash the site. If you run the PowerShell script that we have, and I'm going to put it out on Campfire, it will fix the site, and the two will run compatibly after that. We're not too sexy experts by any means, but we've done rudimentary tests, and the things that we know how to do seem to work just fine, and Plant and App works just fine after the script. Unfortunately, it means that, for example, if you're running 2sexy18 and you decide to install 2sexy19, again, because of the way that they manipulate web config, it's incompatible with, it'll crash the site, and you have to rerun the script. You just have to bring that into your plan for when you upgrade. And I would be very hesitant to casually apply an upgrade to sexy, and really to our stuff. If you're running both of those things, I would be very cautious about installing updates and just, oh, I'm going to throw on a quick hotfix and move on. No, I would plan for downtime and backups and do it in an organized and maybe a premeditated fashion, and then but so far the script runs. It's basically instantaneous, and the site recycles, and the site comes up. Questions about that? Good progress.
Hi, Dale. Jerry here.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that could not come at a better time for me to be in focus. And we won't burn any daylight on this call, but we are going to do upgrades Monday night following week and coming up soon. And one of the things that Dennis and I have considered, and I think we've actually discussed with you, is we do have a version of 2sexy running on this client. I don't believe it's 18 plus. I believe it's much earlier. But our goal this website to PAA 1.26.299 or beyond. And I want to be ready for that collision or whatever problem that might happen. Or if there's anything I could do before Monday to be in a better position for that. And again, I don't want to turn this call into a personal tech support call, but I feel you on this. And so far, I mean, we're not having any trouble. Our website runs fine. It's currently at 1.17, but I can't quote the 2sexy version, but Dennis will know, and he'll jump on at some point and give us more information. But my question is going to be, maybe during the campfire afterglow, would be, what is the order of doing the installs? Like, should we go ahead and upgrade 2sexy first and then start our journey up through Plan to App? Like, do we just go ahead and knock that thing out first and run the script that's provided to us by you way back on 1.17 and get going? Or do we migrate all the way to 1.26, then let it fail, and then run the script? Or, I'm just looking for that little plan of attack. And any short answer on that would be greatly appreciated. But obviously, at some point, we may have to talk at length about that topic.
First of all, we're always happy to. I mean, don't feel like you're imposing, Jerry.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
going
you
to
so
throw out
much.
my answer and then be interesting. Patrick has a little bit more experience with it than I do. So I think if it were me, I would upgrade Plant and App as far as you're going to take it, and then go back and do the 2sexy upgrade.
That makes sense.
And if you are planning to do if you're planning to go all the way as far as you can, is 299 released, Patrick? Maybe you can.
I do not think so yet. No.
So that's kind of one of those check boxes we're going to have to make sure of, that if our version 299 was an internal version specifically to handle this, and it's like in the testing process, we would be happy to give it to you, even if we don't have it published yet. It's just going through it might have, we'd have to look specifically at what's in there and make sure. But best bet would be you would upgrade all of Plant and App all the way as far as is publicly released. And if 299 isn't out yet, we'll give that to you so that you can get that installed.
Thank
Then
you.
then install the 2sec and just be ready on the server with the script that will, your site is what is it, yellow screen of death? Is that what we're calling it? Your site get that, and then you run the script and it comes right back up. So if
So
you
I was just going to let you know that we did a dev site and have already run through the motions up through 1.26 with your guidance. Some weeks, maybe even a month ago by now, and we didn't encounter any problem as far as too sexy being involved. So I'm reluctant to change anything about too sexy at this point, and let me get my Planta app happy, uh,
and,
if possible. And I've proven once that I can do that.
and I have no problem with that. I have no reason to believe that too sexy, their earlier version 13 or wherever you are, I have
Mhm.
no information that says it won't run with the latest Plantain app. It's we just know that when you
Awesome.
encounter that.
Well, as always, I'll keep everybody how that goes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Work just posted. What is that? Ben's idea for saving a static text box as an image. HTML to canvas. Interesting.
So I actually did try that on the static text box and it worked. It worked well.
You have a good memory, Mark. I knew it was somewhere, but I had no clue. I was like, that was a long time ago, as you could
Yeah,
see,
it was.
2022. I was like, it was years ago.
We're right at 3 years. So wow. You know, I'm looking at life through a DNN Summit lens at the moment. And I'm thinking that standing up in front of people and to say that uh, I've been doing this, some form of this for 45 years, it's just like a little crazy. So yeah, the time does stack up.
I see that I actually promised at the end that I would look into adding it as a contribution. Apparently, I never did, so my bad.
Maybe you'll get inspired. It's all about the time.
Be starting over at this point.
Um, okay, so I got another one, but there's still time if you have a first call, even though we're halfway through. And I'm going to keep talking. I don't know if we've said anything yet, but we are working on a new Plantain app installer. Have we mentioned that externally yet?
Don't recall hearing that.
Uh, the idea is that we want to provide a direct jump spot for people who are running DNN only, and maybe earlier versions, all the way down to 961, or people who are running DNN plus some of the DNN sharp tools and they're ready to adopt Plantain app. So the install process was, prior to having an installer, depending on the circumstance, could be very laborious. That each module had to be upgraded step by step in order to avoid breaking anything else. And so, depending on what modules you had installed, you had to install each of those. And if you can, all of you started in the DNN Sharp world, just remembering that you have to install them one by one and wait for site recycles and then install the next one. So it was very painstaking. The new installer is a module that doesn't, it's completely independent. It's just its purpose is to set up and install. Uh, and so long as you have either an empty DNN or a DNN with DNN Sharp Tools 5.6 or greater, you can add this module to the site. It will upgrade DNN, it'll upgrade all your modules and install Plantain app to current, and you're at Plantain app 127. we won't be releasing this until we get 127 out the door, but it's just like a nice one-step jump for anybody who's got a site that you want to bring up and get Plantin app running.
Yeah, and who doesn't have a site that they want to put Plantin app on?
Well, that's certainly our viewpoint. This is half a thought that I had. I didn't get it all the way discussed. Management. We had a support case this week where one of our very active users was trying to, I think is the action pack archive or create archive, something like that. But trying to create an archive in a secure folder. And there's lots of things that don't quite work like you would expect it to in a secure folder, because the DNN mechanism that secures things renames everything to a .resource file if it's in a secure folder, and then when you pull it out, it does a translation between all that, but the idea is the folder really exists on your IIS, but nobody can get to it because resource files aren't served by IIS. Is everybody kind of familiar with that?
Yes.
And so when you try to, if you have a folder that's got files in it and you want to zip it all up and send that out, that it there's several things that don't work the way you expect. So one of the things was that the files that it actually puts into the zip have the extension of .resource. So somebody trying to like the use case was, we're going to create a zip and email it to somebody, and if you create a zip of files that are in a secure folder and then you send that email to somebody and they unzip it, it's going to have resource files in there instead of .text or .jpeg or PDF or whatever it was that you hoped, and so they won't work without being renamed anyway. So that's one thing. And then the output of the pack folder or pack archive or whatever the action is, the outputs of those it has file IDs and absolute URLs and relative URL and folder path, all these different outputs that work really well if you are in a standard folder. But if you try to use the absolute URL output, so you pack folder and you have an absolute URL, but if the packed folder was actually created in a secure folder, you can't use that output. It won't actually refer to it, so you can't use that to attach your zip file to the um, email. So I think the takeaway of what what I came away with was that those actions work really well in standard folders. But if you're going to do something with secure folders and you want to use those packing actions, let's look at the action. I've been stalling, trying to get to it. That you may want to consider alternatives like, yeah, it's called pack folder. All right. And it has these file output tokens. The pack, in this case, pack result, gives you a relative URL, an absolute URL, a file path, link click, file size, these different things. you might want to consider moving the files involved, copying them to a non-secure folder, which doesn't imply that it's insecure, just non-secure folder, maybe by created that as a GUID, only exists for the duration of the time that you're doing this work, but you copy them there and then zip them up with the pack folder and then delete them out. And but you can avoid a lot of secure folder hassle by avoiding secure folders. Who knew? And then yeah, so then this thing with anytime we have a absolute URL output like this, this action is going to create an absolute URL, but the absolute URL is not going to be useful for downloading the file, because if it's in a secure folder, the URL, there's just no way to download something from a secure folder. I think the URL has, it doesn't have the .resources on it, but regardless, it doesn't work. Anybody struggle in this area, or does any of what I've said make any sense? You have a better way to handle it than moving things to non-secure folders, standard folders? All right, then I'll bring up one other thing, and that is in researching this for this client, I also found that when we released 126, in our release notes, we made note that link click, the link click output for certain action, well, what we said was that we're obsoleting the link click action. The reality was we obsoleted it in a limited number of cases, and so we're what we were trying to do was to automatically handle this tension between standard folders and secure folders, and just you could use the relative URL or the absolute URL, and if it's secure or HTTPS or not HTTPS, that we would just handle it and do the right thing. But we only did that in a limited number of cases and didn't consider all the different places that link click is involved. So the end result at the moment is that some of our actions that output link, all of them, all the ones that output link click reliably put out link click. But some of them do extra things with relative URL and absolute URL. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to take them. But not anything that you have working should continue to work. But we're trying to get consistency on what we're doing with this going forward, to have all of the link click actions and all of their the actions that currently output link click correctly output relative and absolute as well. Did I confuse anybody?
No, not at all. And in fact, Dale, Jerry here, just recently on one of our calls, I brought up link click to help solve a problem with caching the downloading of a file, and Ben and I talked, and he showed me a way, and I ended up using the link click version to route to a file that had just been created on the system to download, where I was having issues with the regular absolute URL. The cache was bringing back the old file, not the new file, due to the fact that the file name hadn't changed, blah, blah, blah. And I used the link click, and it successfully fixed that problem. But I have since learned through Ben and others that there's also a way to fake out the cache by changing the URL with some dynamic variable or something that can change. And that works just fine too. So with that said, I have maybe that's a better solution. Would you agree that maybe as programmers, all of us that are watching this should stop using the link share, or I'm sorry, the that style of link and just kind of start moving away from it because it's inevitably going to go away, period.
Yeah, I don't know that as a, I mean, it's something core to DNN, and I don't want to say, yeah, we just shouldn't use that thing. But Plant an App is it. Now let me see if I can find the documentation. We've made the decision. We're moving away from it. We are calling it an
Well,
obsolete.
and I'll follow that decision. The reason why I'm asking now is because I only have it in like one or two places in this massive code, and I can change now real quick because I do have a solution to my reason. I never really understood what that link was all about in the first place, and I'm sure we could be schooled on that. But if it's something that's going away, the link click is what I'm referring to. Uh, but yeah, I just want to stay on top of that because that did fix a problem for me. But I have a backup solution, or maybe even a better solution, I should say, and I can work around that. But thank you though for bringing that to our attention.
Since you mentioned it, I with my layout thing, where I'm displaying this overlay, um, I had to use that technique here. So this overlay file, it's the same file over and over again, that when this thing saves, it saves it to this temp folder.
Exactly.
And this is necessary to trick the browser into saying, don't rely. It's, yes, I know it's the same file, but I'm basically interfering with the cache so that it causes it to actually download it again.
That is precisely my point right there. So perfect.
Good. So, yes, my best answer for the whole secure folders thing, is that it, and certainly relates to the pack, that um, you're going to run into trouble, and you might want to think about putting it in a standard folder and then doing your pack manipulations. And oh, and the one thing I guess I didn't get out too is that the send, when we um, where are we, pack, um, when we're outputting a pack result, when you do it in a secure folder, again, these relative and URL absolutes are not going to be good answers. That you're going to want to, if you're going to attach something, you're going to want to do it through the file ID. The file ID will work when absolute and relative won't. We'll know how to go get that file and attach it from the ID. But if you give us a relative or absolute URL, it won't find the file, and then it won't work. So it's just it's fraught. It will work, but it's fraught. Okay, we have there was nothing interesting on the community forum this week, so I didn't call it out. I have no new ghost stories, but damn, what have you guys got going on?
If I may, just going back to the version parameter that you put on the image file there, it's been a bane for me. I hate leaving that version thing on there. So whenever I actually build um, a new page with DNN and bring up an image file, I always just delete the anything after the file name when I get it back from pulling it from the file manager. This is not with Planet App at all. It's just with the HTML module. So when I see what you've got there, datetime ISO, I didn't think that what you get when you pull the file via the file manager to put it into an HTML module, that it was actually the date time. I wasn't sure what the code was, but it didn't look like a date timestamp. It looked like just some kind of hash. So didn't know. So I was confused with what you provided there. Is that just to put something there to tell the browser it's not the same old file. And DNN says, well, I don't know what this version thing you've put here, but I'll just give you the file. So, I mean,
I can explain that, absolutely. So first of all, to kind of illustrate what you're coming into, when you say, when you go to the file management core DNN functionality and copy the URL that it comes up with has this version that's got thrown onto the end of it.
right.
And it's kind of unintelligible, but yet you can see the file that you were talking about in the first place is there. You're telling IIS exactly what to serve, but you're throwing this thing on the end of it. The thing that you're trying to fool is the user's browser. The browser knows to go out and I mean, this image that you're talking about and displaying in the HTML box, you've got an image tag and you've got this um, file name in it. If you omit that, then the browser is going to fetch that file for you and display it to the user. If your file on your server changes, for example, you generate a new image or you replace a document with a newer version of a document exactly the same name, anybody who's browsed to that page already and has it in their browser cache might not get the new version. The browser says, ah, you want the 240218 file? I've got that. I don't have to go download it again. So that's the problem. The browser caches it.
No,
But
I certainly get that part of it. It's
okay,
the when you give DNN, you say, hey, well, basically when the browser then tries to build the page and says, okay, I don't have this file, so I have to ask the server for that file, the website for the file, and now you give DNN a file.ping question mark version equals and some code, that must mean that DNN says,
it
I don't
ignores
know
it.
what this version thing means. And I thought
Yeah,
that DNN
it
was
knows how
actually
to serve
using
it
it.
knows how to serve a JPEG file, and it does so, and it ignores anything else
It,
that you put on the line.
it
So
ignores that. That's the thing.
the
Okay.
the, the part the VER even is not even necessary. You could use X or presumably most anything else. It just it knows how to serve the file, and so long as you keep a good query string format, it will return it.
Huh. Okay. Very interesting.
So in my case, in this particular case, I use datetime ISO, which is going to be pretty unique. But it could be anything else. I could have used uh, GUID new or anything that just because it's. I mean, the IIS is essentially ignoring anything after the question mark for this PNG file for extensions that it knows how to serve.
Hmm.
So from here on is just to fool the browser. I'm saying I don't have it in my cache and I'm going to have to go get it.
For anybody that cares, my approach was the DNN token ticks, which generates a number. And I think the proper format is ticks colon now. And that has worked really good for me. To your point, Dale, all we're really trying to do is just fake the browser out to generate a new GoC and get that fresh file. And I approach, others have had their approach. I think they all work equally the same as long as you're not sending that exact same URL to the browser every time.
So I don't know that I knew about ticks, so now that's getting me interested. Nice. It's a nice random number. And then we have, we provide GUID new is one that new compact is a compact GUID, so that's a nice random thing. All these different things that are Just so long as they're compatible with the query string, right? They're not going to have a question. You don't want to have another question mark in it or unusual characters that are going to break the query string.
And that's kind of why I chose the ticks, just because it's just a string of numbers. It seemed very non-evasive to a URL.
Absolutely. And I think it probably is very efficient as well. Right? Probably takes less time to generate the ticks than maybe datetime ISO. Well, even I'll bet ticks is about as fast as it could be. Cool. Patrick, have you been working on anything interesting? See how I just got quiet and I'm gonna.
Um, Nothing that I, you know, great, but I was actually just wondering about what we were just talking about. I just been trying something that, yeah. So the other, yeah, I was wondering if that would be because we also have a the datetime Unix option too, which that would probably be pretty reliable as a unique.
Yep. And what is that? Second since 1980? Isn't that?
Yeah, something like that. I can remember. Ben knows.
I can ask my
Why
Just
does
because
everyone always throw my name out there?
You reliably know these things. 1970 I missed before the
Oh yeah.
computer age. 10 years here and there among friends. Who cares? All right then. So we've gotten 53 minutes into our hour. I think that's going to that's enough to call. We get paid for a full episode if we make it past 45. So we're going to call it there. If you want to hang around for a few more minutes, we'll go into our Afterglow segment. Beyond that, we'll have hopefully we'll have fun things to talk about after DNN Summit. Maybe bring back some news about things that are going on in the with the platform and in the community. I look forward to having 2 days worth of sessions and seeing what other people have to talk about. So if I don't if I don't see you there, we'll see you again in 1 week. Thanks, everyone.